Good morning, first graders, or good afternoon, depending on what time you're watching this video. Today, we are going to be talking about equal shares of shapes. So what you're going to need today is, and you can get an adult to help you to do this, you are going to need 3 different shapes cut out of paper. Any paper, scrap paper will do, it doesn't matter. You are going to need 1 square. That's Walter not wanting to do math in the morning, but so you're going to need 1 square. And remember, a square is a special kind of rectangle. It has 4 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it has 4 square corners, 1, 2, 3, 4. What's special about a square is that all 4 of the sides are exactly the same length. So I'll draw a couple of squares for you. This is a square-ish. I can draw my square just facing in a different direction, although sometimes we call this a diamond shape. But if you turn it on your side, well, you turn it on your side and I do it a little bit straighter, you can tell it's a square. Squares can be teeny tiny. You can barely see the center of that, or they can be really, really big. Actually, that didn't fit because it went off my board. But I'm sure you get the point. So you're going to need 1 square. You are going to need 1 rectangle cut out of paper. And a rectangle has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. A rectangle has 1, 2, 3, 4 square corners. And remember, a rectangle's sides are different than a square rectangle side. Rectangle side has 2 sides that are the opposite lengths, or that 2 opposite sides that are the same lengths, and 2 opposite sides that are the same lengths. So rectangles can be really long and skinny, or they can be really short and wider. But they just have that same, opposite sides are the same length. And then the last shape you're going to need is a circle. And these are usually the hardest to cut out, but if you take the bottom of a glass and you put it down and you go around it with a marker, it's easy to make a circle that's pretty good. And we know that circles have no corners and just one continuous closed line. So those are the 3 things you're going to need. I'm going to go ahead and pause your video while you get those things ready, and we'll be back together in just a minute. All right, so by now you should have those 3 shapes ready to go. And I want to talk to you about dividing shapes into half. So lots of times we have to share things with brothers or sisters, or we want to share things with friends, and we say, I'll give you half. So let's take a look at this granola bar. If I'm going to split something in half with someone, I want it to be an equal half, right? I don't want my brother to end up with this much of the granola bar and me to end up with this much. So we know that equal halves are halves that are the same size, and everybody gets an equal share. I'm going to try to break this into an equal half. Let's see if I can just do it with my hands. So that's pretty equal. You look, they're about the same size. I think I would pick this one. It's a little bit bigger, but we're going to make sure that when we divide our shapes into halves, that we do that equally, just like you would if you had a cookie or a granola bar. So let's start with this shape, which is a rectangle. So there are lots of different ways that you can use your rectangle and divide it into half. And I'm going to show you one way that you're probably all thinking. We sometimes call this the taco way, right? Because it makes like a taco shell. So I'm going to line up my sides the best I can and drag my finger down and crease that. And if I do that, I have 2 equal halves. This is 1/2 of the rectangle. This is 1/2 of the rectangle. And that's what 1/2 looks like in math. Sometimes people draw it like this. it means exactly the same thing. It means 1 out of 2 parts. So here's 1/2 of the rectangle and there's the other half of the rectangle. So that's one way to divide it. Can you think of some other ways to divide it up? You can go ahead and pause your video and try to fold your paper. First fold it this way and then see if you can come up with other ways to fold your paper so that you can have equal halves. Now that you've tried it one way, go ahead and try it another way. You can pause your video and go ahead and try to fold it. All right, well, let's see how you did. I know that I can fold my rectangle and make it equal halves this way. And I talked about the taco way. Another way we talk about folding things is the hamburger or the hot dog way, right? Like make it into a hot dog bun so it looks sort of like this. So if I fold my paper in half this way and I reopen it, I now have equal halves. Try to ignore my crease line right there in the middle. Here's 1/2 of the rectangle, and here's the second half of the rectangle. And I know they're equal because when I folded them, I lined it up really carefully. They're the same size. So that's another way. And I'm wondering if anybody came up with a third way to do it. I know that this one's always a little tricky for me. I know I can divide it up by taking these two corners and folding from corner to corner. Now, when I first fold it, it's not going to look that equal, but I'm going to show you that it's equal halves, or as equal as I can make it, being a person and not a machine. So if I fold it this way, and I'm going to draw on here the line that I made so you can see it. So those are equal halves. We have 1/2 there and 1/2 here. And it's hard to see them lined up, but if I went ahead and I cut this on that line, and then I flipped it around and lined it up, you can see they're a pretty good match. I don't have a lot of leftover on either side. So that's 1/2 and 1/2, right? So that's for a rectangle. Now I want you to grab your square rectangle or square, and I want you to see how many different ways you can fold that square to divide it into equal halves. Go ahead and pause your video and try to do that. All right, well, let's see how you did. I know that I can fold it from edge to edge this way. And I have 1/2 here and 1/2 here. Were you also able to fold it the other way? And have 1/2 here and 1/2 on this side, these two being equal halves to each other. And then the third way is kind of like we did with the rectangle, is to make the corners meet. So if I make the corners meet here, and I open it up, I'm going to go ahead and draw that line so you can see it a little more clearly. I don't know if you can hear Walter moaning in the background, but he is. Here's 1/2, and here's 1/2 of that square. And those are the three ways that you can equally divide a square up to get equal halves. All right, the last shape that I want you to look at is the circle. There are 3 different ways to divide this circle up. Can you figure them out? Go ahead and pause your video and try to figure it out. All right, so if I take the top of the circle and I fold it down to the bottom of the circle and line those up, I have 1/2 up here and 1/2 down here, right? And then you might have done this too. You might have taken, instead of top to bottom, you might have gone side to side and said, oh, I have 1/2 on this side and 1/2 on that side. So there's halves of a circle. And then you could have taken, they don't have corners, but you could have taken these edges and folded them together. And I'm going to draw that dividing line so you can see it really clearly. And said, oh, I have 1/2 here and 1/2 here, right? And the great thing about a circle is I can actually take this and show you all the different ways that we divide it. So first we did top to bottom and the line was this way. And then we did side to side and the dividing line was here. And then we did kind of on a diagonal and the dividing line was here. And if I were to cut these into 2 equal halves, you could see 1/2 and 1/2, right? So those are equal shares. In the next box over on our website from this video lesson, there's an attached worksheet for you to do. On the worksheet, the top half of the first page has you dividing shapes into halves. And then in the bottom half is you dividing shapes into quarters. For today, I want you to just do the top half since that's what we talked about. And then tomorrow's lesson is going to have dividing shapes into quarters, which gets kind of wild and really more interesting. So don't do this bottom part of the sheet today, do it tomorrow. And then the second sheet is a remembering page, which is just a review. You can do that today, or you can do part today and part tomorrow. That's totally up to you. All right. Well, I will see you guys tomorrow with dividing shapes into fourths.